As the election season approaches, candidates vying for public office put forth their best efforts to secure the citizens' votes. Alongside them are candidates from well-known political dynasties within their local communities, wasting no time in either pursuing multiple public positions simultaneously or succeeding their relatives in government. Every election season, political dynasties remain in the spotlight, continuing to be a dominant force in the country's political culture. In this episode, MB explains political dynasties versus fresh leadership. Does it matter?
There are several definitions of political dynasty, but I was able to take at least two. Yung dalawang prominent na definition natin. Yung una, the first one would be the definition given by the research of Dr. Mendoza and his colleagues in 2013, saying that political dynasty would refer to a situation wherein members of the same family are occupying elected positions either in sequence for the same position or simultaneously, kumbaga magkakasabay on the same position, across different positions. This is one of the interesting definitions that I have encountered of political dynasty. This was created by the Consultative Committee to review the 1987 Constitution. That was on 2018, if I'm not mistaken. So they defined political dynasty that it exists when a family whose members are related up to the second degree of consanguinity or affinity, whether such relations are legitimate, illegitimate, half or full blood, maintains or is capable of maintaining political control by succession or by simultaneously running for or holding elective positions.
The concept of a political dynasty is nothing new to Philippine society, as it can be traced back to ancient times. Pre-colonial Filipino communities already had a characteristic of being family-oriented and clan-distinct through the rule of rajas and sultans in their respective barangays. This system of hereditary rule persisted into the Spanish colonial period under the centralized government established by the Spanish crown. Native elites, now known as the Principalia, were often appointed to government offices as gobernadorcillos, or little governors, and cabeza de barangays, or barangay head.
Hindi na siya bago eh. Kumbaga, I would say wala pa yung term na political dynasty, pero nagmamanifest na yung essence niya and yung practices niya even before we were colonized.
In the American period, this system actually was perpetuated because even if the Americans desired or wished to give more avenues for Filipinos to participate in the government, we need to understand that the participation of Filipinos in the American government was only limited to the people that also shared the same interests as they do have, so particularly in the fields of economics, finance, and of course politics. After the Second World War, we had the Third Philippine Republic. Nagpatuloy pa rin yung pagkakaroon natin ng iba't ibang mga pamilya sa larangan ng ating politika. Pero medyo mas medyo nabawasan ito technically nung panahon ni former President Marcos dahil medyo nagkaroon nga tayo ng dictatorial ruling basically.
According to the Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism, 71 out of 82 provincial governors belong to political dynasties, with 47 of them seeking re-election this year, while 19 are being replaced by their family members. Meanwhile, 113 out of 149 city mayors also belong to political dynasties. What makes these dynasties so persistent in public office? And why are they favored by many voters?
They have the essential leverage. They have the essential leverage to actually create a better margin of winning in an election. Because, like I said, our political environment is still very much governed by patronage politics and spoil system.
Another possible answer would be that the voters may have no other choice to vote. Siguro within the, especially within the local government level, baka naman walang kalaban itong kandidato na to, no, from a political family. Walang, kumbaga, no one would have the resources to at least compete. You're correct, no, that the 1987 Constitution has explicitly prohibited the political dynasties. The problem, however, is we have no concrete definition of political dynasty. So, how do we actually determine, based on the existing laws that we have, if this is a political dynasty or not?
This is really the problem, because during the creation of the current constitution, the 1987 Constitution, the Congress is already infiltrated with a lot of political dynasties. From 1990s, we have already seen various laws concerning political dynasties passed in the Congress, pero none of them actually was able to move past the second reading. And the idea behind this mainly is because majority of our congressmen and members of our Senate all belong to political dynasties. So why will you create a law? Like I said, it's like shooting yourself in the foot.
And what makes political dynasties good or bad in the eyes of voters and in the system of governance itself? Supporters of political dynasties argue that they contribute to effective decision-making, long-term planning, and overall good governance.
Well, the cons would that be they do not give enough opportunity for other candidates to shine. There may be some other candidates that are better than them, no? Pero dahil nga dynasty sila, no, na nasasapawan na 'yon or natatakpan na.
I mean, maraming gustong humabol, gusto nila sigurong subukan, pero hindi nila magawa because the system will never allow them to do so, no? That's the big disadvantage siguro for us.
Aside from political dynasties, this year's midterm elections saw the rise of grassroots-level candidates. How would candidates who did not come from political families compare to those who do?
In terms of these grassroots-level candidates, no, it's a good emergence. I think this is a good emergence and timely, no? So bakit ko nasabing timely? Because the advent of campaigning that we have since a few years back, no, is that we have involved the use of the internet and the social media. So this gives them at least, no, an upper footing or at least an equal footing, no, to compete with other candidates who belong to political dynasties. Kasi nga naman, because of the nature of the democracy within the Philippines and that campaigning through social media has been made available, no, it's a good starting or good resources, no, for them, especially that young voters right now are always immersed, no, through their social media accounts.
In elections where campaigning is intense, rivalries are inevitable, and political dynasties are no exception. Conflicts arise not only between competing families, but sometimes even within their own ranks. With internal disputes persisting in the current administration and election-related violence remaining a familiar issue in local politics. What does this suggest about the country's political landscape?
Very, very difficult to navigate and very hard to understand the dynamics, especially nowadays, because the political noise is just way too unbearable to some extent, and that
clearly
ang nakikita natin dito is that this elections is really going to transform, the way the landscape of Philippine politics is going to be seen, especially in the future.
As a democratic form of government, I think this would imply that that Philippine politics is still evolving, no? And this is at the expense ng ating mga voters, no? Because sila yung nakikita kong kawawa, no, for this, because these election-related violence, no, I think are results of elite families that are fighting for positions within the local government concerned.
In this election, will you place your trust in a familiar name or in a fresh new face? Be smart and wise in choosing who truly deserves your matalinong boto in 2025.